Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the College Lens. This is Alokika, one of your hosts. I'm here today with my other co-host, Gavin Boyd. We are so excited to, first of all, start our new journey with this podcast. This is our first podcast episode. So we're so excited and thrilled to do this. Today we have an amazing guest speaker, Trinity Ornelas. Trinity, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, hello. I'm Trinity Ornelas. I am in my fifth year at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'm an Indigenous Chicana from Commerce City, Colorado, which is about 30 minutes outside of Boulder, and I'm super excited to be here with y'all.
We're
So
so excited.
exciting. Yeah, we're so excited to have you here. Honestly, first little question to get us going is, do you have any like fun hobbies? And then after that, like, how'd you find out about Boulder? What brought you to Boulder? And like, what do you like to do?
Awesome. My hobby right now is definitely traveling the world. I love hiking and being in the mountains. So Boulder is definitely a good fit just because of the beautiful scenery, but also having Flagstaff Mountain, just a 5-minute drive away from campus, which is beautiful. And Boulder was my dream school since I was in fifth grade when they took us to a CU versus CSU football game, I think. And I was like, wow, that university is beautiful. Um, and so, yeah, I think I was just always attracted to the school. And then I did not want to go to Colorado State. So I was like, have to go to CU Boulder.
Of
Yes,
course.
go Buffs, go Buffs. Am I right? Little plug. Um, so wait, where did you go to high school? How did that look for you?
So I went to high school at Adams City High School. It's a high school in Commerce City, Colorado. It's predominantly Latine. There's a lot of immigrant students there, a lot of immigrant parents there. The school, of course, we had a lot of trouble, so we actually had like five principals throughout our 4 years. A
Whoa.
lot of my peers did not go to college. I think that there's been about five of us who actually are finishing with our degrees out of a graduating
Whoa.
class of around 300 students. So, yeah, definitely from a disenfranchised community, disenfranchised high school.
That is crazy. 5 out of 300. That is bizarre to me. I
Awesome.
think it's so inspiring that you're one of the five people who is striving to make a change in this world and really going for it. I mean, being one of those fives is honestly like I would say one of a great achievement, especially for your school, to be representing you and you representing them being one of the five. So that is so cool. So now I would like to just kind of, ease into college life a little bit. How did that start for you? How was your freshman year? And you said you were fifth year, correct?
Yeah, so I'm in my fifth year, and that is just because I took a couple of gap semesters and I decided to just take some 12 credit semesters as well to not be too stressed while working and all of that. Um, my first year was definitely a challenge being a woman of color going to CU, which is a predominantly white institution. I also did not necessarily know how to socialize with other people. Um, so being there, moving into the dorms, it was all of the regular college anxiety of being away from my family for the first time, going to college, starting a new life that I just didn't even know was possible or doable for myself, didn't know what it was going to be, and then kind of paired with not knowing what community was going to look like. So I had a lot of struggles. I definitely struggled to with my own identity. Who am I? What spaces do I belong in? What feels good to my being? And how do I socialize? So my first year was definitely rough. I felt alone. I remember the first week of school, I got lost in Northern Library, which is huge, and I started crying and I called my mom. So yeah, that's a little bit about my first year for me.
Yeah, I bet a lot of first year and even some second year students can probably resonate with that, feeling a little bit alone, like they don't have anybody else they can talk to, a new environment, a new place. So, what would you say to maybe some people who are in that same situation and they're not sure how to handle it, like how to go talk to new people or even how to go throughout like college life?
Yeah, I would definitely say to attend involvement fairs if there's
Mhm.
places where there's clubs and organizations, and really just try everything and anything, especially in that first month of school when homework is not too stressful, because you never know where you might fit in, what might bring a new inspiration. And just keep seeking it out because community is there, community can always be fostered, it just has to be looked for. So just jump into it, keep trying, and even when you're alone, it's okay. Keep going. It's
Yeah,
normal.
that that's a good point. Community's always there. It just needs to be fostered. That's really cool.
I really like that. Yeah. You did mention like having issues with like the first like kind of settling in, and I think like Gavin said a lot of people can resonate with that because mental health issues, especially for like the first and second year, is crazy because people are still trying to get into that environment of college, especially like when you're told that college is the best 4 years of your life, and then in the beginning you're like struggling and you're like, where is that? So I can definitely understand where you're going with that. So there was like back and forth of emotions, I guess. Is that what you're telling?
Yeah, consistently with I'm just like, this is awesome. I'm so excited to be here. And this sucks. I'm alone. Yeah, where is the best 4 years? Where are my friends? Where do I belong? And
Yeah.
also, I'm here. I'm at CU Boulder. I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
always just both and, which are real.
Do you have like I don't want to say like dumb story, but like a college story that you have that you've been through that you would be like, this is what comes first in mind when I ask for a crazy college story.
Yeah, definitely. So on the first day of school of my fourth year of college, I used to ride a longboard all the time. I was that one girl who
Right.
had the sunglasses and rode a longboard, and I was like, oh, I'm so cool. And on the first day of school, I was across the street from campus and I was riding my longboard, and I hit a rock, smashed my face into the ground. My nose was bleeding, my mouth was bleeding, and I'm just like, what do I do? And it's the first day of school, so everyone's like, welcome back. And so I'm just walking around um the main areas of campus. I like went to Starbucks and was like, can I please have a cup of ice? Like, and everyone was just staring at me, and people are like, are you
Ouch.
okay? You're bleeding. And I'm like, I know. And it was just really like kind of funny to me being like, okay, like there's no perfect first day.
Yeah.
Um, anything can always happen. And also I'm so funny. Like this is so funny to me.
Jeez. I mean, I bet at the time that was probably felt embarrassing, but looking back, I mean, it's a funny story, so you got to be happy with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you were a fifth year, so did you take a gap year?
Yeah, so during my second year of college, so that was when the pandemic was still going on. So the COVID broke out the second semester of my freshman year, my first year, and then everything was still online when I was in my second year, and then I just didn't want to continue paying tuition. And then my father passed away at the end
Mm.
of my second semester of my second year as well. So I think I was
Mhm.
just going through the normal distress of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then with my father passing, and then not wanting to pay tuition. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is overwhelming. I need a break right now. It's not worth it to invest my energy into it. Um, so that was part of it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I just decided that taking 12 credits semesters courses as opposed to 15 credits would definitely ease my workload a little bit, give me more time to focus on my mental health. I was also working nearly full time while going to school and trying to be involved in extracurriculars. And I was like, okay, let me dismantle the stigma that we need to graduate in 4 years. Taking a fifth year would ease up so much time. And it's really been beautiful because I also got to study abroad for a semester, and now it's my last
Yes.
semester and I'm not on campus again. So technically I've only been on campus for 3.5 semesters, but I'm just in my fifth year, so it's been awesome.
That's really
Wow.
cool. Would you be able to, I mean, tell us about that study abroad experience? I've heard so many good things about study abroad. So,
Yeah, study abroad is definitely one thing I think that everybody should do if able. So when I was a freshman, there was a scholarship for students of color to be able to study abroad just because they are not really able to do so. So I just kind of applied on a whim. I got it. And then during my junior year, I was like, this seems awesome. I was working with an amazing woman from South Africa who was telling me about her travel stories and told me about how much she loved Thailand. So I was like, okay, definitely want to study abroad. Definitely do not want to go to Europe. I want to be immersed in a whole different culture. So I just went to Thailand and I was able to travel to 6 other countries in Asia at the time. It was
cool.
just totally awesome. Still got to go to school, being like a structured environment while also being in an entirely new way of being, making new friends, and getting credits to graduate. So it was a win-win-win.
Mhm. So what was like the challenges of studying abroad? Because I mean, that is a whole another situation, like leaving your family, going with, was it like a group of people, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, so I went with like a certain program with people. I
Okay.
didn't meet them until I got to Thailand, but that was a little bit scary. I feel like one of the biggest struggles was kind of like the anxiety I felt of like,
Okay.
can I call the police if something's wrong? Or where do I go if something happens? Is there a hospital? Do I have
Yeah.
insurance? Um, I think, yeah, definitely the anxieties were those biggest things, but I think I also just feel grateful for having the program, knowing there's a program director. I'm here with other students. All will be well. And I also just meditated on my sense of security every single day. So I was like, I'm thankful I have a mom I can call. I have a grandma I can
Yeah.
call. I can fly back. I can get a flight to America anytime I want. So that was
Yeah.
definitely something that kept me grounded while I was over there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I mean, this just opens the door for so many people who didn't really even think that that was an opportunity and an option, right? So, yes. So, wait, were you part of any like organizations here at CU when you were here, or were you just kind of battling your own challenges by then?
So the first organization I was involved with a decent amount, I would say, the first organization I joined is called Public Achievement. We work with youth in Boulder Valley School District just on different social justice issues such as mental health, immigration rights, climate change, ethnic studies curriculum, things like that, that these youth really want to see happening in their community. So I got involved with that instantly, super amazing, just because I knew that I was very socially justice oriented. And then I got involved with a multicultural sorority, which was super cool. At first, I was very confused because I thought that all sororities were the same, all had giant houses, all had to pay $2,000,
Mhm.
$3,000. I had to be a certain way. And when I found this multicultural sorority, I was like, wow, this is beautiful. There are people, other women of color on campus who are succeeding, who I can create community with. So I got involved with that. And that also led me to being able to be the president of the Multicultural Greek Council. And that was an awesome experience as well, just to build community with the other multicultural organizations on campus as well. Um, and then I got involved with another program called the Aquetza Summer Program, which is a program at CU in the summer focused on teaching the history of Chicanx people, Latinx people in the United States, really bringing us back to our roots. So that was awesome. And then I also got to participate with 2 research collectives. The first, we were exploring youth agency around the programs at Kitsa and Public Achievement. So what really drives youth to want to be involved in their own communities. And then the other I did on an art piece, a couple art pieces that were hanging in the library. We had no information about them. We were like, how did these get here? What do they represent? So that was super beautiful as well. And yeah, in terms of like extracurriculars, that would be about it.
Wait, but when we talked earlier, you mentioned something about caving club. That sounds so cool. What is all
Oh,
of that about?
yes. Totally forgot about the caving club. Yeah, so talking about involvement fairs, I went to where all the clubs were showcasing and I saw the caving club. I was like, what does this mean? Like, what is the caving club? And it's literally a group of people, mostly like geography majors, who go into caves and just explore them. So we went to Utah. It was awesome and scary as well. There was a lot of ducking. We went in with helmets. It was pitch black. And yeah, definitely I think people would be like, "Oh, like hanging with nerds." And I was like, "Yes, the nerds. Like, let's learn about all of this." So that was also a cool experience meeting those people as well.
Like caving sounds super cool, but I'm also sure at the same time you had some crazy experiences while caving. So, I mean, you should share something crazy about that.
Yeah. So when we cave, we take matches with us because in order to fire to ignite, it needs oxygen.
Hmm.
And in the caves, like in Earth, if there's bad air that's not breathable, then there's no oxygen, right? So matches won't light. So one time we were exploring a cave and we always make a deal. Like everyone needs to be out by this certain time. So that day, I think it
Hmm.
was 4 p.m. And then if we're not all out, because we go in groups, we give a
Hmm.
30-minute buffer and that's it. After that, we need to call a rescue team. So my group went in and then we came out. We were like, we're done for the day. There was a group of I think there was like 3 or 4 people who decided to keep going down. Um, and it was 4 o'clock and they weren't out. And we were like,
Uh-oh.
where are these people? So we waited the 30 minutes for the buffer and they still weren't out. And then like 2 minutes later, they came out and we're just like, are y'all okay? What is going on? And they told us that they found bad air, unbreathable oxygen. They were lighting matches, they wouldn't light. They got totally freaked out. And then like because of that anxiety, it kind of strayed them away from getting out, but they were able to get out. So yeah, I think from my perspective, I was just worried about them and I was like, oh my goodness. So that was definitely wild.
Dang. You look like
So
you've
fun.
literally like experienced so much. That I would be so scared. I would be like, there, I guess we're done here. So, yeah. Okay, so rewinding
Yeah.
back to the multicultural sorority. So, how was that like? And since like Boulder is a very much of a party school, so were you involved in that sort of culture? How was that experience for you?
Yeah. So the multicultural sorority was very beautiful. Like I kind of mentioned, it was just beautiful to be among community that I grew up with, that we've shared similar experiences, and we were all navigating just being people of color, nonetheless women of color at CU Boulder. So that was just beautiful to foster these relationships, and we did a lot of different community service events. We were very focused on academics, so we would study together sometimes and yeah, definitely just fostering that community, keeping it going. And it also just gave insights into other multicultural organizations. So even just different student alliances, the Vietnamese Students Alliance and stuff like that, which was beautiful. Um, Multicultural Greek isn't too known for partying. They sometimes have like parties or whatever. I feel like CU Boulder's stigma of party school kind of comes around frat parties a little bit different.
Mm,
So the sorority and the party life at CU Boulder, I don't associate those at all together actually. We're way more
okay.
focused on like, academics and community service, things such as that sort. And then the party life within its own, which I was involved in, was an entirely different thing where I didn't even really party with any of my sorority sisters in general at all.
Gotcha. So, I'm not in a sorority, so I don't have much experience or knowledge about stuff like that. So, can you go a little bit into like depth into like how that was like when it comes to party culture and, you know, was it difficult starting off and did you right away get introduced to that or how was that like?
Yeah. Um, so with the multicultural sorority, I something that was super cool about like my sorority that we did was we actually had like a position called risk management, where there was a sister. If we were going to party, we always had delegated sober sisters. And we always like created a plan together also to just make sure that everyone is safe, everyone is okay. So that was definitely something that was helpful in terms of the sorority. When I began to party on my own, um, it was definitely in my first year where it was like the hype. That was the thing to do on Thursday. I remember I got introduced to like a thirsty Thursday, and then of course Friday and Saturday, and later on like Margarita Monday and Wine Wednesdays, all of these things. But Thirsty Thursday was definitely one of those first things that I was like, okay, there's frat parties on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays. I need to go. I want to check this out. Um, so I made a couple of friends in the dorms, and we went out to the frats on the hill at Boulder, and we were like, okay, this is interesting. We feel kind of odd. I don't know if this is really fun. Um, so it wasn't a very interesting experience for me in that sense. And then later on, when I came back to Boulder, my third year after my gap semester, I got way more involved in the party scene. So it was still definitely frat parties, but I was actually friends with different fraternity brothers, actually friends with people who owned houses on the hill and had their own apartments. And my friends were also 21. So I was no longer an 18-year-old just depending on, frat boys to provide little seltzers or whatever. So that was definitely an entirely different dynamic for me as well.
Coming from like a different background, how was it like with the fit in culture for you, or did you not have to deal with that at all?
Yeah. So I think CU Boulder's reputation is definitely a party school, and it's like normal to party. That's what being in college is all about, partying, being young. And that also, I think because of the CU Boulder environment comes with a lot of these other stigmas. I just really wanted to achieve this idea of whiteness in terms of being beautiful and showing my skin and going to parties and all of these different things. And at the same time, my skin complexion is different. My mental health is different. I don't have the same privilege to just live the way that what even is normal, but normal
Hmm.
CU students were living. So I definitely struggled a lot with that. And then again, just being a person of color on campus, every time I would even go to a party, I was like, why is no of my community members here? What's kind of going on? Um, so that was definitely pretty hard to navigate. And then I feel like after I really got involved with the party culture, my third and fourth year, I lost myself actually because I felt like I finally achieved this being where I was being invited to parties consistently. Partying was all I wanted to do. I would party Thursday through Monday. And then those middle days were kind of like weird. So I think I strayed away from community a little bit, lost myself, achieved this party image of being normal at CU Boulder. And it was very difficult to navigate at first. And then I lost myself and then was able to come back to myself, which I just feel really fortunate to have gone through as well.
Yeah. So you said there was just some mental health complications. So how was going through either like partying and hanging out with people, the progression of either like mental health decline or incline? And how did you come to realize that finally you got to a point where you're like, oh, like I kind of lost myself, or I've reached a really low point in my mental health? Like, how did you realize that? And then what did you do to like start climbing back up from that point?
Yeah, yeah. So definitely I think that especially at CU Boulder, it's very like normal to party between Thursday and Saturday night. Um, but once I started to hang out with more people who were consistently partying, it just escalated. So we were starting to party on
Mm,
weekdays. school days. Hey, are you on campus? Let's, go take a shot at so and so. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, I have
Mm,
class in 20
right.
minutes. And then I was also a part of I considered myself a stoner for a very long time. So being high, which I think Boulder also has a reputation for, oh, hippies and being a stoner is super cool. But with me, I think I actually had like a dependence on the weed, and I didn't even want to call it addiction. I was like, there, you can't be addicted to weed. I'm a stoner. But I
Mhm.
couldn't stop.
Mhm.
So I just
Mm,
started to I was always high consistently and then involved with more of the partying things. And then I just got involved with a little bit worse substances as I continued to go through college. So definitely in my third and fourth year, I was definitely engaging with just different harmful substances that I actually also got addicted to during my college years, which were very difficult for me to navigate. And that definitely impacted my mental health when I stopped going to
hmm
school. I didn't want to do homework. The only thing that made me happy was the way I felt connected with other people who were engaging with substances. I felt protected when I was under some sort of substance. I also just felt centered. I felt like it was the only thing that I was on this earth to do. So it just also perpetuated the addiction within itself. And partying just became my life. Substances became my life. School was on the back burner, personal relationships, my relationship with my partner at the time, everything was on a back burner. Um, and I still also had that deep desire for those connections because that's who I inherently
hmm
am as a person. I think it's very normal to want to connect with other people. And I was just doing it in ways that weren't necessarily authentic. Um, but at the time I was blinded by it because again I thought I was normal at CU Boulder. I was trying to fit in at Boulder and I really felt like I achieved the CU
Mhm.
Boulder image. So that
mm.
was all very difficult to navigate as well.
Yeah, I mean, I really think like as humans, we're built for a community, but a good community that's going to help like build us up and people who can notice, friends who notice that, hey, maybe you're acting a little bit off or recently you've been acting weird. Like, how have you been feeling? Like when our friends and our people can notice that kind of decline and help us like figure it out, that's the people we need to be surrounding ourselves with. And so, do you think that maybe falling back into a place of isolation made it more difficult to recover from the mental health? And then how did you end up kind of like bringing it back and turning it around and start improving your mental health again after you kind of reached that lower point?
Yeah, I definitely like what you said there about isolation because I think that that's exactly what I was doing. I did feel
Mm,
very isolated. I was straying away from my sorority sisters who are a great community. I was straying away from these programs. I was still involved with all of these, right? Like public achievement and Aquetza and the sorority. And at the same time, I just wasn't being attentive. I wasn't maintaining my
mm,
relationships. And I was fortunate to have people who were noticing. I just didn't care. Because again,
right.
I was like, well, I'm at Boulder. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think also my attitude also pushed away people and people eventually are just like, okay, like you have to fight the fight for yourself. And if you're not going to fight this, I can't keep being worried about you. So I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of my friendships. I pushed people away. They tried, I didn't want it. Um,
Mm,
and I was still fortunate though too to have a solid foundation with these people too. So that leads to like the second part of your question of how I really got back. So first of all, I always stayed in contact with my community members. So those are the people who do know me at the core, know what I stand for. I wasn't all about partying. I definitely am like, let me get back to my
hmm
community. I want to make things more equitable. I want to heal. I want to have liberation, especially for all people, especially my people. But all people need it. All people have wounds. So that was very beautiful in having spaces to remain grounded. And then I got introduced to the Collegiate Recovery Center at CU, which is also a beautiful space. They have just recovery meetings for people dealing with a bunch of different issues. So it could be addictions or eating disorders, food body image, just things around that, self-harm as well. So I got involved with that, which was a beautiful community, just a space to share and to be seen and validated and vulnerable. So that was beautiful. We would go out to dinner on Mondays. They'd give us free meal cards at dining halls. Um, and we would just be able to engage in activity sober and be vulnerable and have fun. They would give us free tickets to raves and football games and all of that. So that was beautiful. And I also got a therapist. Um, so CAPS actually, I always use it as a flex, like, oh, my mental health is so bad that I can actually get into CAPS at CU Boulder because they also have a stigma of not supporting their students unless they're like in crisis. So I was like, oh, this is really bad. So I got a therapist, and then I realized that traditional therapy just felt a little bit off to me. I felt like there was barriers and boundaries that are needed, yet just weren't right for me. So I got connected with a holistic healer, a shaman, a curandera, who practices with natural medicines and alternative ways of healing, such as hypnosis and Reiki and medicine like that, really getting to the root cause of addiction and depression and anxiety and why are these things really happening, as opposed to being like, okay, this is what's happening, here's a medication for it. So that was also a beautiful journey that I started to walk, also my third year. So despite being disconnected from myself, feeling isolated while I was still partying, I also still had a lot of different connections that I felt like helped really allow me to stay centered. And then even when the progression of my mental health just got worse, I was really able to have that community, like you said, to be like, okay, like, what's going on? You need more support in these moments. So that was very beautiful, and it definitely helped me get back to myself and realize, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want. Um, College is not forever. There is no such thing as being normal. Regardless, you're not going to fit in with this image that you want to fit in with. So you're not going to. Why are you going to keep trying? Because it's draining your energy. So yeah, all that to
I love what you just said there with the fit in. I hope I like can make a quote out of this and like frame it or somewhere because people need to hear that. Because fit in culture can be so toxic sometimes that you forget who you are and what makes you so special. And then sometimes it's just too late for people to understand that, you know? And I'm so glad that you found yourself with holistic healing and all that because some people just don't have the resources to do that. And it's just so heartbreaking. But thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
definitely. Thank you for that feedback as well.
Yeah. So wait, what did like traveling play a part in that whole thing? Did that help you with your substance abuse and how like you got out of it, or was that way far after you went through that?
Yeah. So traveling is definitely a beautiful experience. I think that yeah, substances, drugs, they can give you this high, the serotonin boost chemically. Um, Meditation does even better at doing
Mhm.
that. So that's been another beautiful practice. And then traveling the world has also given that same sort of serotonin and this new way of being and new experiences, which has been beautiful, beautiful.
That is awesome. That the journey you've been through, it really sounds like you have gone through a lot, but have learned a lot as well through that journey. How did traveling help with that? Where was traveling after that phase or during that phase, or when did you realize that you really wanted to travel after your study abroad? Because I know you're doing like the online school right now, but you're traveling on your own. And you're in Guatemala, right? Which is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm currently in the forest, just have Wi-Fi off of my phone, which is super awesome. I'm living at an eco lodge, so everything is solar um solar panel operated. We have an on-site well. It's just beautiful. Yeah, so after my study abroad, that was like after my fourth year, I realized that I just love traveling the world and want to explore all the cultures. So I went to Japan by myself and I was like, okay, I can travel alone. So I
Okay.
came back to the US and I was on Google Flights and I found a super cheap flight to Guatemala and I was like, I'm going, and I just booked. Um, and I did the same thing with Peru. I was up at like 3 a.m. one time and I was like, I can't sleep. What should I do? So I planned this whole trip to Peru and I was like, you don't need a book. And I was like, just do it. It's okay. So I just did it. And yeah, now I'm definitely always on the lookout for flights. And I really just love the fact that there's so many different cultures and I can get the same sort of serotonin boost by really exploring the world and discovering new and alternate ways of living and being, which just feels so aligned with who I am.
Yeah. Do you have your favorite place you've ever been to? If you had to just choose one, what would that be?
Definitely Thailand. Maybe it was because it was my first trip abroad and I
Yeah.
was there for 3.5 months. But the people there are just amazing. The pace of life is just much more slower, which was beautiful to really honor different ways of living and being. Food is great, transportation is great, everything is just great. There's beaches and mountains, and it's super cheap and accessible to get all over the country. And I definitely would live there, definitely recommend to everybody.
How many countries have you been to so far?
Um, I've been to 10 countries. Yeah.
Dang, that is
And
so cool.
yeah, less than a year and a half.
I need to get to that. I need to go to different countries. Like
We
that
can go
sounds so
Really?
together.
cool. Yes, you gotta give me the feedback. I don't need to go on Yelp. I got you.
Real. And then so you're gonna graduate soon, yeah?
Yeah, in about 3 months in May. So
How
here
are you
soon.
feeling? Do you have any plans for after, or you're just trying to get there?
Um, I think I definitely am feeling the normal anxieties about transitioning
Mm,
into a new life phase. So just like it's normal to be nervous during the first year of college, I think it's very normal to be nervous about the last year. I'm leaving this structure that I've been navigating for so long, feels comfortable to me, and now I'm like, now what? Do I need to get a big girl job? What's going on? And at the same time, I also feel like college was a beautiful time and it's no longer a part of
mm.
my being. I think it's natural that we go through cycles of changes and I'm just navigating a new season. So, yeah, definitely parts of me are grieving a lot of my old self, a lot of the associations I have with college, and I'm also excited to discover things that are I don't even know are discoverable yet after I graduate. And I don't have any plans necessarily. I really want to teach yoga and maybe get an online job and travel the world. I think I'm very
Yeah.
young, so why not live before I get settled? I'm not looking for any career or a relationship or anything right now. Really just want to keep building with myself and seeing the world.
I love that. It sounds like you've literally lived like seven lives in the last 5 years, which is so cool. And it just says a lot about the person that you are and how you have dealt with those challenges and obstacles and the fun memories that you have made, which is just so admirable. And Gavin and I are definitely taken back and inspired for sure. One last question just to wrap up our conversation, even though I would love to talk to you forever and ever and get to know you much more and listen to your stories. What would you tell the Trinity 5 years back?
That's a good question. I think I would definitely tell her you are loved and there are ways of being connected authentically with people. It's out there. So just tap in, ask yourself what you really want, and stay curious. And that's about it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Trinity. We are so glad that we got to talk to you today and that you were our first guest speaker. We are so excited. And yeah, thank you so much. Any last
Thank you.
thoughts, Gavin?
No last minute thoughts, but yeah, Trinity, thank you so much. Really enjoyed getting to know you more and talking to you. But this has been the College Lens. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.